Okay, hello everyone. So welcome to our first meeting in TLS class. This time I'm going to talk about um, why do some tuning in and what are the kinds of activities in tuning in activities. Okay, so first of all, what is the purpose of tuning in activities? What do you think is the purpose? So the purpose of tuning in activities, as the word says, it, it is to grab attention of your students and then maintain it throughout the lesson. So you need to get students' attention and then lead it in to the main activity that you're going to do with your students. That's the purpose of tuning in activities. Now, before we go to the kinds of tuning in activities, I have one question for you. Please consider this answer and you can comment your answer in the comment sections. Okay, so the question is, do you think that roll call is a part of tuning in activities? Apakah mengabsen gitu ya, memanggil nama siswa satu-satu itu adalah bagian dari sebuah tuning in activity? Okay, so you can think about it while I'm explaining, and then later on you answer it. Okay. Now, we go to kinds of tuning in activity. The first one is before and after. I will upload the book of teaching learning strategies that I have. I will upload it so you can access and read it. These activities are taken from that book. So the explanations are there, but I'm not considering all to be put in these presentations. I'm just thinking of those that you can really use in a real life context. Okay, the first one is before and after, like the words before and after. So there might be something that you judge before and then after it. So the idea is to use it in a reading activity, for example. So before reading, the students have to deal with some statements. The statements are based on the reading. Okay, so those statements, your students need to agree or disagree with it, or decide whether it is true or false, for example, before reading it. Now, and then the next activity is reading it. After reading it, does the first statement experience any changes? For example, for the first statement, before reading, the students believe that it's true. Then after reading, he found out that it actually false. That's for example. Okay, I'm gonna share how does it look. Okay, so uh, I'm not. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. The what is it? The table, before and after table. So you print in a paper 3 columns, the statements in the middle, and then before on the right side and after on the left side. So before reading it and then after reading it, while the statements are in the middle. Okay. That is how it looks like. Okay. And the next one after before and after is KWL. Yeah, KWL, the principle of KWL is actually similar to before and after. So know, want to know, I'm sorry, it should be want, I mistype it, so want to know and learn. So there are also three columns. The first column is for know, the second column is for want to know, and the third column is for learn. So suppose that we are going to use this activity in, again, reading activity. So before reading what your students know about the topic of the reading, they should write it on the know column. Okay, and then before reading it also, your students need to write down what do they want to know about the topic being discussed in the reading. Okay, then give your students a chance to read it, and after they read it, write down what they have learned from it, or probably can they answer all their questions, want to know questions in after reading it. So write that answers in the learn sections. Okay, I think I'm going to show you again uh, the examples of it. Okay, so KWL is this one. What I know about the topic, and then what I want to know about the topic, what I learned, what I have learned from reading. So you may use this not only in reading skills, but any skills, like for example listening. So you have prepared the listening materials, which includes all the informations, and then play it, and after you play the audio, ask the students whether what they have learned from it. And similar to before and after, you can also use it in a listening activity. So the statement should be those statements exist in the audio, the materials, and then what they believe before listening to it, and then after listening to it, is there any changes to it? Yeah, so that's know, want to know, and learn, KWL, and also before and after. Next one is graffiti. So what we know about graffiti is something painted or written on the wall, right? So in this activity, you can use the wall of classroom. Or if this is an online classroom, you can use any blank sheets or screen and ask your students to write something on it. Now, the something that I mentioned before should be a topic. So let's say that you are going to discuss about, I don't know, personal experience, for example. That's something that I personal experience. So before you go to a recount telling about personal experience, you want your students to write down phrases, words, probably sentence that related to past experience, or what your students think of it when you say past experience. For example, they can say past tense, or they can exactly call recount, or yeah, you ask your students to relate a past experience with, let's say, one word, a phrase, or a sentence. Have them write those on the wall. You can use the whiteboard if you have. You can use a big sheets of paper, stick it on the wall, and then ask your students to write on that. So after a given time, you review what your students have written. Okay, and from that, you can lead in to the topic that you are going to discuss with the students. Okay, so that's gravity. And card cluster is the next activity. So in card cluster, you may want your students to, let's say, discuss an issue about something. Okay, and you may need your students to be grouped into several groups of, let's say, 4 to 5 students, and each student are given this paper, like a note, a small piece of paper, and then within that group, your students have to solve or discuss or give opinion about something. Now, after a given time, each of the member of the group have to collect the paper in the middle of the group. Okay, and then within that group, they have to discuss about all the answers coming from all the members, whether they can classify it into a major category, whether they can other than classify, probably pick a link of it. So these solutions links to another solutions, or they have actually similar in some way. That's, for example, that is card cluster. This type of activity that I've mentioned before suitable to be done at the beginning of your lesson. Okay, at the beginning, and this activity directly leads to your next activity, your main one, or your, let's say, your core activity. Yeah, and by this word, like tuning, you maintain your students' interest, you maintain your students' engagement with the activity. So that is actually the idea of tuning in activities. Grab your students' attentions, maintain it probably until the end of the lesson. Okay, now go back to my questions. Oh yeah, I have still one more things to discuss. It is 1 minute challenge. So 1 minute challenge is anything you can do in 1 minute. So for example, let's say the topic, you pick a topic and then give your students 1 minute to write as many words as they can that related to that topic. For example, school. And then ask your students to write as many words as they can think of that related to school, and you only give them time for 1 minute. That's 1 minute challenge. Or for example, you can ask them to find something in 1 minute. For example, it is in an online class like this one. Okay. And instead of writing words, you ask them to find something in their house which matches the criteria you given. For example, find me something that is blue color, for example. So you give your students 1 minute to go grab something that is blue around their house. That's for example. Now, make sure that the criteria is something that you can relate with your topic. For example, if you want to describe something, that's good. So you ask your students to find something. But if, for example, you choose to let them write the words, as many words as possible in 1 minute, then you can compete your students, like count who got the most words in 1 minute, that for example. Okay, so those are the activities of tuning in. And go back to my question previously. Do you think that raw call is a part of tuning in activity? Sorry for that sound. So you need to give reasons. Why do you think it is tuning in activity, and why not? If not, and why not? Use your reasons. Okay. So I think that's all for our meeting for today. Please do answers or response to the questions on the comment. Okay, bye. Thank